Hi, everyone. My name is Darla Kirchner, and I am so excited to have my new dear friend, Tanya, on the show today. Tanya is she is a master trainer, and she's a speaker, and she is a budding online entrepreneur, and so she's got a wonderful story. I had the opportunity of meeting Tanya at Kim Garst's Social Boom event in Chicago, and it was literally on the last day, and I think it was just kismet. What do you think?
It was definitely, I think like when you're supposed to meet, you're supposed to meet, and it just happened so randomly and effortlessly. So it was pretty interesting.
That's cool to say. And it's funny you say that because I was literally leaving. I was finishing. It was an hour after the conference had ended, and you happened to be getting in line to meet Kim, and I ran another friend, and it was just like we just started talking, and it just was meant to be. So since then, I've had some wonderful conversations, and you have an awesome story, and that's why I developed and have been working on the Entrepreneurs on the Rise show for about almost 2 years now, where I really just want to showcase awesome people who have a serious message and really want to help others, right?
Yeah, that's what it's about.
So yes. So, and it's just about rising up and spotlighting you. So I've got a couple questions. So first thing I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you so much, Darla, for having me on your Blab. I love it. This is like my second time on Blab, but so I am a master trainer and an online coach. I've been doing this for about 11 years. I am new to the social media world. There's so many people you can help and reach out to on the social media world. So I got out of my comfort zone and I'm here. A little bit about me and my passion and my mission is, I struggled with food addiction and eating disorders for years. I grew up an athlete and, just verbal abuse growing up, teasing, picking on. So then I started thinking if I can control my weight, then I can find self-acceptance and love from others. Anyway, fast forwarding down that journey, I decided to do a bikini competition. I played ice hockey for 9 years. I stopped playing ice hockey and I needed a new sport. So I chose, doing a bikini competition. Anyway, I leaned out, did great, got second place, first show. And then that year, everything just spiraled down from there. I had gained 60 pounds. I became a binge eater on a daily basis. I had no control over my body, over my food, over my emotions. Every emotion was just suppressed through food. It was my drug of choice. It's a substance. It can be a substance abuser if we get into that realm. So anyway, I struggled for that for years. Finally, coincidentally, I was a trainer at the time too. So it's not that I didn't have the knowledge or that, I was following, I was on every diet because I was desperate because everything was, from the external motivators. And I just, I was in a really dark place. And so anyway, I was a trainer at the time and it was really, really hard and really embarrassing, to be want to help others exercise and become healthy when I had no control over myself. And so I struggled with that for years. And then at the age of 22, I was like, that's it. I'm not dieting. I'm going to reach from within. I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to find self-acceptance and love with myself right now, no matter, even if I stay where I am right now, I'm going to feel good every single day. And I just stuck with that mantra, and my mantra is just feel good today. And, my mission is to be able to help other people who are not so much an addiction, because addiction is a very dark place. You really need to go seek out help for that. During that time, I didn't have any help because it wasn't even classified as an eating disorder, binge eating. Now, all of a sudden it is. So I kind of had to really get out of it on my own. And so anyway, I know a lot of people struggle with yo-yo dieting and weight cycling. And, it's my mission to be able to break that. And that's hence the word diet junkie without the I. So it's taking the I out of the diet junkie and really finding self-love, self-acceptance, and at the same time, being able to get from where you are to where you want to be. So I think all of that is important.
Oh, that's a great story. That's one of the reasons why when we met, I wanted to talk to you about it, because I had my own issues with, with yo-yo diets, and we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
And what I loved about what you were saying is that you meet your clients where they are, and that you can relate to a lot of where they are. And so was very encouraging to me, because you're always trying to find the right way, because all of us want to be healthy. I mean, right now, I don't care to be a size, 6 again. I just want to be healthy, and I want to be a good role model for my kids, mostly my daughter. So yeah, and so I can relate and understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is we get to a point and we're like, well, I don't want to be there. I don't think that it's in our desire to want to be the best version of ourselves. And that's really what I teach, is I teach people how to look, feel, and become the best version of themselves. So it's okay to want to be, for example, that size 6, but it's also finding peace and acceptance with where you are now and learning the tools, strategies, and techniques to be able to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what people lack and what they miss, is that, like, knowing the how-tos and still staying true to your dreams and your goals and where you want to be, because we all have them in us innately, but to stop putting so much emphasis and stress and pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. And I totally understand that. And it's hard, because sometimes you have to accept where you are, and it may not be exactly where you want to be.
Exactly.
You are now, right? So
yeah. And a lot of people are fearful too of, like, if I accept where I am, then that means I'm going to stay stuck. And actually, it's the complete opposite. And I only know because I struggled with it, So the things that I say, it's not that I read it in a book. Like, I had experienced it, and I'm successful now in it. And my mission is to be able to share that same success with others. So it's when you accept yourself, and this is something it took me a long time to understand, is learning to accept yourself is the only way you're going to move forward. Because when you are stressed out over your body, you're releasing more cortisol, and cortisol is a fat producing hormone. So whether you're stressed out about work, relationship, or even about yourself, you're still going to be overproducing body fat. So when you find acceptance and peace, and also when you're stressed out, what does it relate to? You don't want to have like a salad when you're stressed. You want to have Ben and Jerry's, who's always there for you. Ben and Jerry's has always been there for me, or my chocolate and almonds, or, but it's deeper than that. So when you find that peace with yourself, then you learn, like, eating healthy, eating this food makes me feel good. Therefore, that is self-care, and then you have this whole new perception. And then, so when you have that peace, you actually have better habits. Does that make sense? Because when we're stressed out, and when we're anxious, or when we feel pressured, or we want to numb ourselves emotionally with food, I mean, that's the first thing we go to is food, and we usually don't choose the healthier versions.
You're not going to choose an apple if you can find, and that's the other thing, is don't have it in your house, which is a whole other topic.
Oh, there's whole other systems and strategies that I could go over forever on that stuff.
Yeah. So would you say that when you were 22 and you were dealing with, trying to, coach other people, and you felt, you weren't your ideal where you wanted to be, was that your most challenging moment? Would you consider that your most challenging moment?
My most challenging moment is when I was self-imprisoned. I had no control over my food choices. Every single emotion was a numbing of food, and the way that I felt, because I felt bad, I wanted to eat. When I felt good, I wanted to eat. I was embarrassed of who I was. I didn't want to leave the room. I mean, I was young, and I literally felt like a prisoner to myself. And I felt that around that age is actually when I had my breakthrough. At 22 was when I was like, you know what? I'm not going to live like this. And if I am going to be this size, I'm going to learn how to love and accept myself at that size. And once I made that decision in my mind, then I started healing. I couldn't heal until I made that decision. Yeah. And then my decision was, how can I feel good today? Not what's going to give me temporary pleasure, but what's going to give me long-term happiness. So I'm going to eat this because it's going to make me feel good 20, 30 minutes later. I'm going to exercise I'm going to engage in movement and exercise that I love to do, which is rollerblading, salsa dancing, going for a walk on the beach, and started with what I had where I was. And that's, I think, that's when I started getting out of it. But before then, I think for those 5 years, I was in a really dark place.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. And there was a time for a couple of years when I was doing that, and I could just see myself where it was like a circle, I felt like I was circling a drain, and I could not get myself out of it. And I knew that medication wasn't going to be the answer, that I had to do it myself. And so then you start baby steps, right? So you start to walk, you start to move, that progresses to the next thing. So
absolutely. I mean, there was a point where I was even suicidal. I hated who I was. It was like, you know, I don't like going back and, I mean, I do believe stories are important because it gives people more credibility for validating what they're saying and people actually listening to what they have to say. But I don't believe people should also put so much emphasis on that story. So I think places where you've healed such a past and you talk about your new story, that's another thing is you get stuck in storytelling. But yeah, it's crazy, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, wow, I was like that. Oh my gosh, you would never think, you know.
You would never think, because to me, as a person, I never would have thought that. But everybody has a story, and we all have challenges. And so I think, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this and about talking about you rise to the occasion. You pick yourself up and you rise and you walk on.
Yeah, you do the best you can with what you have with where you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautiful. So so what do you consider your sweet spot now? I mean, do you feel like you're in your zone right now, or do you think that you're on your way?
I believe that I'm doing the best with where I am, with what I have available. I'm exactly where I need to be right now, if that makes sense. And I've made peace with that because I'm a visionary. I can tell you my whole business model backwards, and it's been to the T for the last 3 years. And it hasn't changed. I know my market. My market is, you know, weight cyclers and yo-yo dieters, and hence the word why I'm creating the brand of Diet Junkie. But I think, I mean, of course, you always want to focus on progress and becoming better. And, you know, you start to, when you have that frustration, then things aren't going to work out. So I'm right where I need to be right now.
Yeah. And that's the perfect answer because, you know, it's just, I remember when this is going back a few years ago, when I would go, if I just had a crystal ball, and if I just knew where I was going, right? And there is no crystal ball. That's, you know, life is the journey, and it's about, and you do need to live in the moment and seize that day, right? Carpe diem, right?
Yeah. I mean, every day I think that I was listening to this audio. I forget what it was called. I like to cycle through different audiobooks, but one of them, he was talking about, I think it was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, or have you ever heard of that book before? The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I forget the name of it, but it's a story, and he was telling the story about how there was like, he gave this guy this wish, and then he was a kid, and the kid wanted to be older, and then he can fast forward his life, and then he fast forwarded his life, and then he met this girl, and he's like, oh, well, I want to know already. I want to be married to her, so I'm going to fast forward it again, and then he's there, and then he's like, oh, by the time he knew it, he was old, and he hadn't lived any of his life because he was always wanting to be in the future. And something that I teach my clients and that I've had to learn myself is that when you are anxious, you're living in the future. When you're depressed, you're living in the past. And the only way to have peace is to be present.
Oh, that is a beautiful quote. Okay, add that quote. Can I add that quote to our?
Yeah, let's tweet it.
Yeah, we should tweet it out. So if anybody wants to tweet it out, please do. I mean, and that'll be a tweetable.
We'll tweet it.
Yeah, we'll tweet it out. It'll be a tweetable on your blog post on over at Darla.
Awesome, cool, yeah.
The whole thing, yeah. Could you repeat the quote? And
yeah, okay. So it's probably gonna sound a little different because just say it. But when you're anxious, you're usually living in the future. When you have anxiety, you're in the future. When you're depressed, you're living in the past. And the only way to find peace is by living in the present moment. So.
That's beautiful. Love that. It might be hard to get that in 140 characters, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I will do?
Equals depression, anxiety equals future, present equals, or peace equals present. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was my next question, which you kind of just went right into. It was, I love to read. I love to learn, and I can tell that you do too. So is there another book that you would recommend, or that you would say, hey?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm also, all right. So I'm never reading just one book. I always have like 2 or 3 books that I'm reading at the same time, but I'm a hands-on person. Hence that's why I do personal training and coaching. I have I'm reading Perfectly Yourself as far as like my personal development, my more of like zoning into myself and being more of listening to my authentic voice and doing what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. And I think we all have our own special gifts and our own special passions. And so it's called Perfectly Yourself by Matthew Kelly. He's amazing. And I'm like, Yeah. You know him, or you know of him?
I've met him. I think he's been to our church.
No, he's amazing. He's all over. He's super, like, he speaks. You can Google him, YouTube. I mean, Matthew Kelly, he is awesome, like amazing. And everything is about just being true to your inner voice and being true to, you know, your goals and your dreams and your desires. But he also gives good strategies and systems of like how to do that. Because some people are just like, well, just be yourself. And you're like, okay, well, like some guidance here, or, you know, just do, you know, and he always talks about like just doing the next right thing. And that's it. Just do the next right thing. And like, you know, if it's the next right thing, if it feels good, if it doesn't, and you know that you're like going to be like sneaky or like copying somebody else's branding, and you know that's not your stuff. Like, be yourself. We need more original copies. We don't need, you know, and people can easily distinguish, you know, a second-rate version versus an original copy. Yeah. So all the time. And if people steal your stuff, which, gosh, like, that's one of the things that I'm trying to let go of, that frustration. I see so many other trainers and coaches that I'm surrounding myself with, and they're all now just kind of like taking my branding and my words. And I'm like, just, you know what? Everything will fall into place. And I think that's one of a frustration when when you found your branding, you're developing your light, and other people are trying, they haven't found theirs yet. Yeah. But that's a whole nother thing to talk about. Yeah.
It's easy to emulate. It's easy
to be present with that one.
Yeah. I know.
That was a frustration today. Well, I'm bringing my sparkling water now,
which I love. You know, we talked about it when we were like pre-show, in the green room, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
She was talking about, you have to hold up your mug, hold up your.
Oh yeah, it's gone now. That's how frustrated I drank it. I was depressed because I was thinking about hours earlier in the past. Yeah,
I know, it's so frustrating. I know that is, and it's I've had that happen too, because when I was always in the design world, and so I did design, and so people would steal your work, and I was a professional artist, and people would steal your work, and I got to the point where it's like, you know, it's gonna it'll all come out in the end.
Absolutely.
You know who's the original and who is not.
Absolutely.
And also too, you are creative in your mind. No one can take your ideas. You just keep making
and
more.
Nobody can live your experiences. And you know, when the situations and the experiences and some of the questions and the situations that I deal with when I'm working with clients, it's like, there's no way somebody else could answer that. And I only know because I failed at it so many times in order to learn the lesson behind it. And a failure is not a failure, you guys. If you learn the lesson behind it, it can actually turn into a success.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And that's something that, and that's very, very true. Very, very true. So, you know, I know you've been working really hard on developing your branding, and you talked about that. Or is there any certain like strategies that are working for you for your online marketing, or for marketing yourself and your brand, which to me, you are your brand, because especially you, because you're a personal brand like I am. So what's working?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is consistency. Lately, before I wasn't so consistent with my social media, because here we're just talking about online, and even like in like working with real people, like in the personal training industry, you have to be consistent. You have to do follow-ups. You know, you just engagement, really caring about people, showing that you care. If somebody writes a comment, you know, I'm going to do my best to respond back within 24 hours, and just really showing people that you're not in business. I mean, yes, money is important in order to be able to have more things, to be able to provide more service. But we're in this, when people understand you're in the customer service industry, everybody is in the customer service industry. And so consistency is like a big, big thing that I'm trying to be better on top of with social media, because there's so many like different avenues to go around with social media. And I think I've been having this little hammer like at my head like this past year. Actually, it's like, you need to start podcasting. You need to start podcasting. You need to start doing webinars. You need to, you know, share your story and like inspire others and get out there, because I think it's finding what platform, because there's so many platforms, what you feel you can excel on. And I love talking and I love sharing. And so I I think it's really important. But the consistency, getting back on topic, is one of the things. And finding my platform and listening to where I need to be. Because intuitively, and just like referring back to this book, which has been amazing. You guys should definitely get it. But unfortunately, it's not on Audible or like audiobooks. Is being perfectly yourself and listening to that inner guidance system.
Yeah. And that's it. That you have to, once you get to know me, that's consistency is my word. You need to do everything and choose what works for you. I mean, and also
choose your platform,
but know if that's where you should be. If your ideal client and your target audience is not on Twitter, then why are you? So, you have, and I'm not saying Twitter, because Twitter to me is, that's a whole other topic conversation. And honestly, I'd be on Twitter anyway, because I'm learning there's so much you can do with Twitter. But so that's probably not a good analogy. It's more like if people are, if your audience is not visual. So like for you, Instagram, Facebook, videos, would be great places because it's a very visual place.
Yeah.
So, but you can't be everywhere. So being consistent.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You can't be everywhere. And, just at least excelling on one thing and then adding to two. And there's so many. And actually another book that I was listening to, I went rollerblading today. It's one of my cardios, is Gary Vaynerchuk. I can't pronounce his name. Sorry. But called Crush It. And he was talking about really just knowing what you really, really are good at and choosing that platform. Because if you're not going to sit there and tweet, then you're not going to be consistent on it, regardless if your people are on there or not. Your people are going to be all over the place. Your people are going to eventually find where you are. And they're going to create a community, because you are going to be attracted to like-minded people, like we were talking about when we were in Social Boom with Kim Garst, of how we were drawn to her because in a way she is a reflection of who we are.
Exactly. And that's very true. And I know you and I talked about Crush It, and, I think that's very true, about knowing where you are and knowing where you're going to go, where you like to be too. And so I think that's, and so
where you're good at too. Everybody's going to be good at something, whether it's typing or blogging or writing or speaking. And, just got to find what you're passionate and excited about. I love blogging and I love talking. So,
Yeah, great. And that's the other thing I was going to tell you is knowing what you're good at. Oh, I had my thought and I lost it again. Darn it. I hate it when that happens. Okay.
You can pause and take a sip. That's a great
thing. Yeah. Pretend you've got water.
You do a little pause. That's amazing. Hold on.
That's an awesome.
And then you catch your thought.
So what I was going to say is, before I forget my thought again, is there's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks about living in your zone of genius.
Oh,
I'm halfway through that book. Great book. So living in your zone it's called The Big Leap. And it's I wrote a blog probably been about a month ago. And I will add your book to that list.
Cool.
It's all about personal development. So if you guys over on my website at darlakirchner.com, and you can get a whole host of books that other people have said have been amazing for them to help them in their personal development. So that was one that was recommended to me, and it is a great book. So for many years, I was living in my zone of excellence, areas that are really good for me, and I fell in. But now I really am striving to reach outside my comfort zone and stay and really live in my zone of genius. And so I love to communicate. I love to collaborate. And
you're very good at it. And you're very, very good at it.
Thank you. So and it becomes natural, right? I mean, when you love that, it's a natural place for you to be. So
you're excited and you're passionate, and people don't understand, being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, it's not, you're not going to work any less. You're probably going to work even more. I'm in the gym because I'm still in transition. I'm in the gym, and I love working with people too. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm training my clients from 6 until 1. And then I come home and I take a little break, whether I go rollerblading. I just need to decompress because it's a lot of energy. And then I'm working from 3 until 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. So, I mean, you need to make sure that if whatever you're doing, you should be in your genius zone, or at least be passionate about what you're doing, and the money will follow. The money will come. But yeah, exactly what Darla said.
Absolutely. So then what keeps you motivated? What motivates you, Tanya?
Oh man, like people motivate me. Success stories, clients coming up to me, or not even clients, just somebody randomly sending me a message. Like the other day, for example, I share this story with you. So I posted a workout video on YouTube, and I always had a fear of exposing myself on social media because I don't have 6-pack abs. I've got body fat on me. I've got curves, whatever. And you know what? I'm embracing them. All right. And somebody had written like, you're chubby. And I was like, this is what I was so afraid of exposing myself on social media for this, like, I guess they call them trolls or whatever. So I had a troll. I had my first troll. And then I was like, you know what? I had a fire in me, and I just wanted to share it to the world. I'm like bullying just never stops, And so I posted on Facebook, and I had like 70 like comments, and like, I mean, there was so much support, and people who I've never worked with, but I was just sharing like, motivation on my Facebook and all my social media, Instagram, and I always share motivation to try to inspire people. Right. And they're just like, you changed my life, and you don't know me, and just keep doing what you're doing because you're helping me. And sometimes you don't realize, like, especially in the social media world, you have a lot of people who just watch, but they don't engage. Right. And sometimes, like for us, where we just pour our heart and soul, and we try to deliver so much content for people that we sometimes think like, is anybody even listening? Is anybody even watching? Does anybody even care? You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. You're like,
exactly what you're talking about. You're like, am I putting this out in the air, in the ether? Is anybody caring?
Hello. The little echo. Hello. And then just all the support that I got just really threw a fire in me. But I mean, just people randomly like, you know what? I'm so excited to be here. I never enjoyed working out until I started with you. I never like, I finally like who I am. I don't love myself yet, but I finally at least like who I am. And I was like, okay, progress. So, I mean, just success stories and just, I mean, there's so many. I love people. I love nice people.
Yeah, me too.
I will forgive the mean people because I'm not taking it personal, because what you don't like about me is a reflection of yourself. So I've come to peace with that.
You know what? Yes. And yes, I do yoga, and that's helped me a lot to center myself. And another book, and I think I shared this with you, is a book that I have on that blog post, but it's called the 4 Agreements, and one of them is not taking it personally.
Yeah, you can't.
And that has taught me a lot. And you can't. I mean, because really, it's a reflection on them, not on you. And it's hard when they're attacking you. But now you know for sure, right, that all these wonderful people motivating you.
And you know what? I needed that because it's helped me now. Then I started filming. I've been wanting to do this whole travel segment for like working out, and like, because everybody's like, oh, I'll work with a client, they'll be gone for like a week or two. I'm like, so how is your exercises, your workouts? Oh, I just didn't have time. I just don't have time to work out. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let's find out some solutions. So if I created a 10-minute workout, would you be able to do it? And they're like, yes, create it. So I've been wanting to do it, but that fear of me feeling that I didn't look good enough held me back from being able to create programs for people in order to be able to have something when they're traveling, or when they're on conferences, or if they're just home, like trying to start up a business where literally you feel guilty if you take breaks.
Right.
So yeah. I don't know why.
But that's value. And that's the thing, is like that's going to help somebody else. Like, like I would have loved nothing more than to have that. I didn't realize when we were even at Chicago, didn't even dawn on me that there's probably a gym at the hotel, and you're scurrying the whole time. And should I have been down there? Yes. Was I? No. And so, but knowing that you had like a 10-minute workout, that's perfect for the people like us who are trying to, you're working all the time, and you forget sometimes to drink water and to stand up and to stretch and to.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not even about that. Like, you can just stay in the comfort of your own hotel room. That's the cool thing about it. I'm like, I'm going to make it so simple. You don't even have to leave your room. Or if you don't even want to do a workout from home, you can just like the whole time I took the stairs instead of the elevator, just mindful movement, walking around during, you know, a break, just brought my sneakers, went for a walk. And so it's just being mindful, you know, mindfulness, and doing it not because you have to or because you have to lose weight or you're on this diet or whatever, but doing it because your body craves it. Like, you get out of your creative, like, you're out of your creative blocks. Like, you have now, you can think clearly. You have these ideas. You have, like, pieces come together. Like, I have my one company, I am going to call him out, but he owns A1A Limo, and he's amazing. And he gave me an amazing success story the other day, and he said his business has tripled since working with me, since he's been taking care of himself. And I mean, this is somebody who has a very large business, and he's got a lot of employees. And I mean, to say that was pretty cool, because I never thought of it from a business standpoint of how really taking care of yourself can impact your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really agree with you there. So I wanted to ask you a couple other expert tips.
Sure.
You know, a couple of tips of what, you know, to help, you know, busy entrepreneurs like ourselves. To, you know, give them so that they are, you know, doing a couple little things to keep themselves healthy. I'm going to be writing these down, and I will be adding these to our into our blog post in the show notes.
Oh, cool. Sure. You wanted tips?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were asking questions. I thought you were going to throw me some questions.
A couple of tips, like, so like people who work from home.
Sure.
What would be a good tip for them?
So the first thing I do when I work with people is there's so many places to start. I start with foundation. You have to have your ABCs before you go to your XYZs. You can't be skipping A to, you know, W to C. So the foundation is sleep. It is, I mean, literally, if you're not sleeping, your body will be over fat because you release more adrenaline. Adrenaline is a hunger hormone for those of you who don't know, and adrenaline, and it suppresses leptin, and leptin is tells you when you're satisfied or full. So when you're not getting enough sleep, your body thinks that it's hungry, because what do you need for energy? You need food, right? So you're going to overconsume food, and you're not going to know when to shut off because your leptin levels are low and your adrenaline levels are high. So you can't distinguish whether you're hungry or full. So most of the time you're going to overeat, right? So sleep is the first thing, the number one thing that we work on and I address with people. That's why when I said I work from, when I come home and I work for my business from 3 to 8, because I'm turning off all my electronics an hour before my desired sleep. Because I know I need 8 hours of quality sleep, uninterrupted sleep, in order to be my best, to look, feel, and be the best version of myself. So I shut my electronics off. I know it's so crazy. You guys are probably like, what is she talking about? I'm like doing online stuff and blah, blah. But I'm telling you, the quality of your work as an entrepreneur or running a business or a company will double, triple, because you're going to have quality work. It's about quality, not quantity. And I tell people all the time, whether they're lifting weights or they're, you know, whatever they're doing, it's quality, not quantity. So sleep is the number one thing that we address. The second is getting on a schedule. You know, I think a lot of times people are just so scattered. You have to get on a sleep schedule, an exercise schedule, and a food schedule. So exercise schedule, blocking off time, even if it's 10 minutes in your day to do some type of stretching, or, you know, going outside and walking around the block, or picking up some resistance bands and doing, you know, a 10-minute workout, which I'll have ready for you guys. And by early next month in November, hopefully the end of this month. And I mean, there's whatever you want to do. You want to go out, you want to go rollerblading, you want to turn and blast some music and clean and dance at the same time. You can like declutter, dance, whatever you want to do. And so mindful movement, you know, block off the time, but stay consistent with it. Because if you say, all right, I'm going to work out today, and you don't know what time you're going to work out, you're going to fail at it because there's no schedule. We, as human beings, do our best on schedule, on routine, the things that we want to be successful with. So if you know at 12 o'clock, you need that little energy boost, 12 o'clock, Monday through Friday, like from 12 to 12:30 break time, exercise time, and have fun with it. That's the one thing, you have to have fun with it. You know, do the best of what you can with where you have, with where you are. And then the other is food. Same thing, getting on a food schedule, hydration, drinking more water, being mindful, stepping away from electronics and from work when you're eating, sitting down, eating your food, being present with it. Because if you're not present with your food, you're probably going to overeat it. If you're writing and stuff, you didn't even get to enjoy it. And when you're not enjoying your food and you don't have any food satisfaction, you're going to overconsume it.
Right.
And making sure that you're eating out of hunger and not out of emotion. I think those are the biggest things too. Talking about emotional eating and physical eating is totally, physical hunger, emotional hunger are two totally different topics too. So you have to get real with yourself and understand, what type of eater you are. So I think those are some good tips to start off with.
Those are great tips. Those are great tips.
Yeah.
Thanks for
yeah. And I have a Kickstart program that I dive deeper into with that. And but that's your foundation. You have scheduling all three of those components. And so hopefully that was kind of helpful.
Start there. Okay.
Yeah.
So since we're on the, since I've got I'm in the question mode for you right now. What would be some of your top advice that you would get for someone who's starting out in their business and they're starting out on their entrepreneurial journey? If you had to think about this, say if you had to travel back in time and you have the knowledge that you have today and you had to go back 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 years, what would you tell your younger self that would maybe help some other people that, entrepreneurs that also want to be rising like you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the first thing that I can think of, the only thing that's in my head right now is just be true to yourself, be authentic, be yourself. Don't try to, be somebody that you're not, because at the end of the day, you're going to just waste time and, you're going to waste money and, listen to that gut feeling. If something tells you no, even how amazing it might sound, and you just spent $2,000 on a program, okay, I guess this was a success because I learned now to listen to my intuition, It already
cost me $2,000, but that's okay. That's I learned.
Yeah.
Just you learned.
Yeah.
And that's true. And that's the thing is I think we get that FOMO. FOMO gets in the way. I mean, I had
FOMO?
That. Have you never heard of it?
What is that?
Fear of missing out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, FOMO. So I had FOMO at the conference, and I'm going, and I could tell. I'm like, I'm in FOMO. I'm having FOMO. Stop it! Just stop it. Because you wanted to meet people, and but yeah, I mean, and that can happen. So a lot of times I have learned, and I don't know if it comes with age or what, but I feel like I've learned to really start listening to my intuition first. So you and I've had this conversation where you invest in these programs and you go, okay, so-and-so's doing, or so-and-so recommended, maybe I should do it too. And, and then but I've learned now that, okay, I've invested in a lot of programs and I invest in myself all the time, but I'm going to choose wisely and I'm going to use what I have. And I'm going to invest in areas and with people as I need to, and as I need to grow for the next steps.
Yeah. So just definitely just be yourself. And one thing that I think that if I would go back in time and I would tell my, my younger self is I would say, don't hold yourself back. And that story that I shared about why I've held myself back for so long, waiting to look like this, pinnacle fitness model, whatever, that's not who I am. That's not who I even want to be. And so just be who you are and fully allow the world to see it. Marianne Williamson has a beautiful quote, and I love her too. I love her books. She says I mean, it's a really long quote, but it's really famous. If you Google Marianne Williamson quote, famous quote, but it's all about when you allow yourself to shine, you automatically allow others to shine as well. So by being who you really are and not holding back, it allows others to do the same. When you hold yourself back, it does no justice for the world, and it doesn't help others. And for a long time, I would hold myself back because I never want others to feel insecure about themselves. But it did nobody any good, especially myself. And it only hurt me, and I wasn't helping other people to the fullest advantage because I wasn't fully giving who I really was. I mean, her quote is way better than the way I explained it. But her quote was like my affirmation for so long, and it really got me through a lot and helped me, you know, step into who I am today. So
yeah, and that's awesome. And you look to guidance for people like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and I think that's wonderful. I mean, she's helped me, and that's a whole other topic, but you know, for the same kind of thing where it's like you just needed, you look for that. And so that leads me to the next thing is quotes. I'm a quote girl. I love quotes. And so is there another quote or a special quote or a quote that maybe you have that you love or inspires you or motivates you or helps you live the way you want to live?
Yeah, I mean, well, I kind of made up my own quotes, but there's
Yay, better.
But I did write a quote down because I wanted to make sure that I said it, because out of any place to start is it's not your fault, but now that you know, it's your responsibility to take action. And that's by John Benson. And he's really big into copywriting, because I've been studying copywriting because I blog weekly. And, you know, I like some of the things he said. He's not somebody like I want to be a reflection of, but I like some of the things he said. But, you know, I think it's really important to, it's not your fault, because a lot of times we beat ourselves up like, well, I should already know this. I should know how to do this. I've been trying to do it for a couple of years now. And it's not your fault. Sometimes we learn information the wrong way. And it's not our fault, because we didn't intuitively listen to who we should be guided to learn from. And so perhaps we learned the wrong information. But now that we know the right information, whether it being self-care and exercise and eating healthy, or, you know, your eating habits and behaviors and your sleep, it's now your responsibility to take action. So same thing as we talked about, I'm going to keep going back to that, is start with where you are with what you have, and, you know, and be okay with it, you know, find acceptance and love with it. And so that's one of my favorite quotes. Well, that's one of them, but that was by John Benson. I didn't quote mine. I didn't want to be too selfish today.
No. We're going to add your quote in there too, because I want a couple of quotes, because I love hearing, and then I usually make good, nice branded images that we can put out there on social media and stuff too. Because a lot of people people will stop and listen, and it might help somebody else.
Absolutely. So yeah, I love quotes. Awesome. I love quotes. Yeah,
that's awesome. So let me know what I know you're working on some things. So why don't you tell us what your big project is that you're working on, and how can we reach you? So we can add that. I'll add all this information in the notes too.
So I mean, I have a couple of programs and products out there for those of you who are curious, or maybe you know somebody who's curious who's in the niche market of the people who I help. My niche market, for those of you who are just joined, is yo-yo dieters and weight cyclers. And right now, because of the whole biggest thing, going from the conference inspired me, is a whole like, I don't have time. So I created a 10-minute no time, and I bought the domain. I was like, I gotta buy this domain. So the fear of missing out. What do you call that?
Right,
what was that term?
Right.
FOMO. So I was like, all right, I gotta buy this domain name, because I think it's something big. So it's a 10-minute, no time workout. And with it is a 6 to 8 page. I'm not done with it yet. I'm just finishing it up, but it's a 6 to 8 or 9, 10 page PDF on traveling, everything you need to know about traveling, prepping for a trip in order to come back home feeling your best. Because we go on these trips and then we come back and we feel horrible, but we don't realize that before going on these trips, we've already set ourselves up for failure, because we're like, oh, all right, well, after when I get back, you already set yourself up for failure. Oh, well, the holidays, well, when the holidays end, I mean, it's like there's always something coming up. You have to plan for success. You have to set yourself up for success. So I'm going to do the best that I can in order to feel my best when I come back home. And that's my goal. That's my intention for this trip.
Right.
And so I'll have that 10-minute thing, and it's going to teach you how to do your own workouts and stuff like that. And that's coming out in November. I also have, we talked about the fundamental, the sleep, the eat, and the exercise, getting on a schedule, and really how to do that and break it down, and to actually do it more customized for people, because everybody has a different sleep time. Everybody has to wake up differently. Everybody has a different time of when they eat. And that is a Kickstart program to get you going. And then I have one last thing. I have an ebook, which talks all about eating habits and behaviors and building. I think the biggest thing is that here's a quote I'm going to share with you before I finish up with this one. Is it's and Matthew Kelly says this too, the book that I recommended, Perfectly Yourself, but he said this on a YouTube thing, and he's like, people love change, they hate transition. But I'm gonna go against him on that, okay? So people love change, but I think the transition is not correct. If people had the right transition, then they would love the transition as well. And that's where I come in. So when it comes to self-care and health and getting people from where they are to where they want to be with their bodies. So the transitional part is really important. So the ebook talks about building a good relationship with your body. It's like a 30-page PDF with your food, with your exercise, and all that other stuff. And that they can go to www.tanyasilva.com. The site is going to be revamped and torn down, but I'm also on Instagram, and yeah, that site it's outdated, so don't judge me on it. It's on on Instagram and on Facebook. I'll be sending promotional pages in the next couple weeks on the 10-minute no time workout. So,
oh, that's awesome. I know I if I haven't registered, if I haven't signed up to be on your list, I will. I thought I did.
Yeah, you guys can, and I send out free blogs. If you just don't want to even get anything from me, no problem. I send out free blogs on really, really powerful stuff, just like this conversation. I always give 100% because this is my mission. My goal is to be able to inspire whether you purchase something from me or not. But I send out free blogs every Sunday at 9 a.m. on the dot. And if you enter your name and your email at tanyasilva.com, which Darla put in the box, you will be getting that. Plus, I'm giving away a little gift on where to start when it comes to how to eat. So,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely yeah, and I got to talk to you about all that anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And yeah, I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much
for sharing your and every all your wisdom and it's a journey, right? It's a journey.
It is a journey, and you literally just take one day at a time. And going back to another quote, because we love our quotes, is be present to find your peace. If you're living in the past, you're usually finding a lot of depression. If you're in the future, you have a lot of anxiety, and when you're at peace is when you're present. So yeah.
That's good. That's another tweetable. I'm going to add that one too.
You already said you were going to tweet that. I like to add back closings to things because people forget. Yeah. We only retain 20% of conversations. So
exactly. That's why people like visuals, because they'll remember that. So I'm going to try to. I will definitely be adding all that in our show notes. And I'm excited about your journey and all the things that are going on in your life. And I know you're going to, I know that you're just going to keep rising and rising and rising. And that's what it's all about.
And
right?
You know what? Honestly, I haven't really started really shining until I really made the decision to be true to who I am and my branding and everything like that. And that's when really things have been coming, opportunities, and it's just staying true to that inner voice and that inner guidance, because it's got your back, like that. And that's what Matthew Kelly talks a lot about it. Like, you've got your back if you listen.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. If you just listen. And that is a learned thing, is to really listen instead of talking, listening to yourself, listening to the people that are most close to you in your life, listening to your audience. I mean, all of that, so that and make the right decisions for you.
Absolutely. And you know what? And some people might disagree with the things that I say, and I say that's totally cool. Lead your journey at your path with where you are right now. And everybody has different phases. There's a progression to exercise. When I take people through strength training, there's a progression to eating. When you're ready to go to that next level and that next phase, and do what's right for you. If you don't agree with what I say, that's totally fine. Be your own person and be the best version of yourself, and listen to your voice, because you're going to know best.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya, for being on here.
For having me.
Oh, it's been awesome.
It's fun.
We're going to... Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it's amazing. 50 minutes went by.
I know,
really
my gosh.
Yeah, it's fast. So I'm going to go ahead and stop, but I want you to stay on here with me, okay? Because we might have questions. I don't know if anyone in the audience right now has questions. I appreciate you guys being on here. One of the reasons why I wanted to be on Blab is so that it could be more engaging, right? I was doing them all on Skype, and it was just me and you. And so that was awesome, but I like the engagement, and that's one of the love Blab. So, yeah. So if anybody has a question for Tanya about her journey, or about questions about training or being healthy, then let us know. Tanya, are you okay if I unlock the seats?
Bring the heat.
I mean, please. What'd you say?
Bring the heat.
Bring the heat. Yeah. So if anyone's in here and they want to hop in and ask Tanya a question, now's the time. And if not, then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put my information in here too, because what we're going to do is I'm going to be putting this on my blog. So I blog weekly too, like Tanya does. And if I could spell my name. .com. And what I do is I interview people for entrepreneurs that I feel that they're really rising to the occasion. They have a mission and a journey, and they're well on their way. And so and not necessarily that they've made it, because let's face it, we know who those people are. We know who the thought leaders are, and to the people that have in a lot of people's minds have been successful.
Yeah.
So, but I showcase the people that are really digging in deep, and they're not.
Yeah, and everybody starts somewhere, like people think that success happens overnight, and you hear these people that we listen to as mentors or audiobooks, whenever they tell you, like, there was a lot of working in the trenches for years. Nothing is overnight success, and it's nice to have these platforms to be able to share our journey, to share our challenges, and struggles, and we can all feel like we can relate. And that's really what it's about. It's about to support each other.
Absolutely. It is. And that's one of the main reasons why I do this. Because it's not something, it takes time out of my schedule, and I have to work extra to get my other projects done. But it's important to me, because I think everybody wants to know that. Because I know when I started out, I wish I had known this. I wish that there were people that I could say, okay, well, they're doing it. They're making it. It's not easy. I can do this, So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, but thank you so much. So stay with me, and we'll talk for a few more minutes. But thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'd love for you to share it if you'd love to share the replay with your friends, and we hope that it's really helping you. That's the main reson, right? So thanks for joining us here. Thank you so much, Tanya, for being on the Entrepreneurs on the Rise, and I look forward to doing many more of these videos. So